Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got a late one for y'all tonight. I got a late one. This idea came off of the top of my head, and I thought I'd make these stream episodes instead of just recordings. I guess be somewhat a little more interactive to get some feedback, during the stream or after the stream is over. But what's going on, everybody? Lindy Enzo is in the building. Wanted to keep my content a little bit consistent here. I know I dropped a bunch of stuff over the course of the last 24 hours. Finished my post draft presser series with reactions to some of the post draft pressers for the rookie class for the Eagles. Got that out of the way, and we're gonna start something new. I wanted to get in the early depth chart debate series. Episode 1, as you can clearly see by the title, it's going to be wide receiver. And before we get into all that, quick point of order. I got my wife's family coming in. They're supposed to be arriving sometime tonight, late morning. So I'm not sure as far as the purpose of content. I'm not sure how consistent I'm going to be over the course of the end of the week. The family's going to want to do things and whatnot, so that's yet to be seen. But after they depart, I guess I'll be back to a regular schedule. I got some collaboration ideas in mind, getting some I'm getting some contacts and whatnot and in there, and I'm getting up. I'm on the rise. I'm on the rise, man. I'll tell you what, hitting 71 subs the other day, and people commented on some of my videos that I need more subs. It's pretty cool to think about. So got the GOAT mentality going on here. MJ, got that. We are set to go here. So whether people hop in or not doesn't matter at this point. So for the sake of the episode, we're going to get into it. And furthermore, if you're new to the channel, or if you're if you like the content enough, I'd love for you to give me a subscription. I love doing coverage of my Philadelphia Eagles, and I also love to cover my Dallas Mavericks as well. I tried streaming the last play-by-play when we faced the Miami Heat, and it was it was looking pretty grim in the first quarter, and I just didn't have the energy. I just didn't have the energy physically. I was pretty tired to carry on after that. But then, as soon as I stopped the stream, the Mavericks explode in the second quarter, and really didn't give the Heat much of a chance to come back. I felt that it shouldn't have necessarily been that close in the first place. The Heat did not have guys like Victor Oladipo and Jimmy Butler. Andre Iguodala, for what it's worth, he was day to day with a hip injury, and he looked, he didn't look very good. He should retire. I hate to see Iggy playing the way that he does, and but that's not the here nor there. So anyway, like I was saying, if you are new to the channel, I'd love a subscription. If you like the content enough, I just I do this to get my opinions out there, my perspectives, through my fandom of my favorite sports teams. So leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on some of the videos that I drop, and turn on post notifications so y'all know when I give you some more good content. So we're gonna get into this right now, and here we go. Episode 1 of the early depth chart debate. I think the biggest topic of discussion that's pretty easy to be said here is the wide receiver position. Obviously with the addition of DeVonta Smith in the draft, and I think every one of us knows that he's going to be the alpha of this squad. It's been a while since we had this kind of wide receiver on the football team. Experience aside with DeVonta not playing a single snap yet, or getting into training camp or your practices or whatever it may be, we already know what he brings to the table from a collegiate standpoint, and climbing up through the ranks of that Alabama program, with the likes of Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs and Jalen Waddle. The company of talent he was around was top notch, and for him to still stick out the way he did, and people can debate, well, Jalen Waddle may have been better all they want, but at the end of the day, the best ability is availability, and unfortunately for Waddle, he went down with that. He had that. I think it had something to do with a ankle dislocation. And he needed 6 months worth of therapy for it. But that's not the here nor there now. You got a receiver that won the Heisman, and it took. It's been over 2 decades since it happened, and that player is on our football team. And what he's going to do to. What he's going to do to make this receiving core better is just unprecedented. So we're gonna definitely get into that right now. We're gonna get into this depth chart or roster as it stands, and we're gonna go from there definitely. Philly Mike, what's going on, man? You on late as well? I know you putting that work in though. I've seen a couple of the videos you dropped. You always putting in that work. A lot of work. But here we go. So, as it stands right now, we got about 10 receivers on this roster. As it stands, that's not only including the draft class with DeVonta Smith, but that also includes the undrafted free agents. Now, the one thing I'm not seeing here is that and I'm taking the roster. I'm taking the roster from ESPN at the moment, and they're kind of, I don't know, they haven't necessarily updated the roster properly, because it's still showing Marquise Goodwin here, and I don't exactly remember where Marquise Goodwin signed, but obviously he's not an Eagle anymore. So the way it goes is, it does show that one of our undrafted free agents is now on the roster, and Jamon Osborne, the receiver out of Texas A&M, comes in at about coincidentally the same size as J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Both players are measured at 6'2", 225. Now that's not the only coincidence here. It seems that the undrafted free agents, they have that, that X type of receiver mold. And and we just talked about Jamon Osborne here, and Trevon Grimes is another one. That's two X-based kind of receivers right there, when we already got guys like Travis Fulgham and Arcega-Whiteside on the roster. It's pretty interesting. I guess it's fair, to say that there's gonna be some pretty good competition at that position. We seen last year the somewhat of a, we kind of seen, I guess you can say, the downfall of Travis Fulgham disappearing from the roster in that matter, and I guess part of that was I guess part of it was a little disciplinary from what I was hearing, and some of it was just elevating Alshon Jeffrey back into the rotation when he returned from injury, because, of course, there has to be a justification to contract, and guys of the likes of maybe Doug Peterson, and we already know, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman had something to do with this, throwing the veterans back out there because they paid these guys, and they don't want money sitting on the sideline. They got to play them. It was so terrible. It was so terrible, but thankfully it's water under the bridge for the moment, and we got guys like Arcega-Whiteside and Fulgham to work with now. But outside of them, we just talked about Jamon Osborne, and then Trevon Grimes comes into the mix. The Florida receiver who played alongside Kadarius Toney and Kyle Pitts. He's got something to prove, being that he was an undrafted free agent. So, don't be surprised if a player like that moves up the depth chart. There's definitely potential there. And, you could also say there's potential for Jamon Osborne. But at the same time, remember this. The practice squad group of receivers got jumbled up a little bit. Guys like Robert Davis and Deontay Burnett are not here anymore. So there's got to be replacements there, especially for the second string at practice, whatever. Jalen Hurts working with the first string guys, the starters, and what have you. And then you got the second group, and that's where the practice squad players come in most likely. So being that we just talked about guys like Robert Davis and Deontay Burnett not being here anymore, you still want to fill the roster back up and get those replacements. Now, I would think at this point, being that this is obviously this is the early debate, this is very premature. I would think a guy like Jamon Osborne would most likely end up settling in the practice squad. It's very possible to say the same for Trevon Grimes. There's a reason these guys went undrafted, and it doesn't go without saying that it all comes down to the tape, and it's all about how the scouts reviewed these players at the end of the day, what their grades were. So I mean, we can still set a kind of expectation for guys like them to kind of be sneaky and climb up the ranks a little bit. It's possible. We've seen it done at different positions. Corey Clement being one of those undrafted free agent guys. Coming in, nobody really knew him in 2017. The Eagles thought they got a gem, second string, third string, what have you, and he worked out pretty well. That's not always going to happen, but you have to remember a player's limitations. So I think it's fair to say at this point, a guy like Jamon Osborne would probably be well suited for a practice squad spot. But you never know. So I thought I'd get him out of the way first, and we can talk about Trevon Grimes for a little bit as well. I would think obviously his primary competition here would be guys like Travis Fulgham and JJ Arcega-Whiteside. I don't know, because I mean, it's funny when we talk about those X type of receivers that they're all built very similar. Arcega-Whiteside and Fulgham are built pretty. It's scary close as to how many of these players from an athletic profile standpoint, how similar they are. With their measurables and everything, and obviously to a lot of us, a guy like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, he was a bit of a reach in the second round. He had a fourth and sometimes a fifth round grade on him, and for whatever reason we fell in love with him in the second. We had to have our guy early, and he was taken. And that's history for the moment. But it's also hard. It's also hard for these players when they're put in that dysfunctional type of situation that we had in the quarterback room, especially with what was dealt with in 2019, all the turmoil that the team had. And we had that Amazon Prime series on the Eagles, and the Orlando Scandrick BS, and stuff like that. And the questioning of number 11's mental toughness, who's now number 2 in Indianapolis. It's not the here nor there. But anytime we talk about him in Philly, he was number 11, so I'm going to keep it at number 11. But you go from 19, and then you go to 20, where Jalen Hurts gets picked, and then the pandemic comes around, and a lot of these rookies and second-year players, they go through these, they go through these pandemic limitations, and it hurts them because they don't have OTAs and they don't have extra camps, and they don't necessarily have time to build a chemistry with the quarterback, but Arcega-Whiteside was one of those training camp stories that he was showing out in practice, and he was consistently standing out, but when it came to the season, that wasn't the case. So it's going to be really tough, and he's kind of on his last leg to me, going into his third year. And you have to imagine that because of the fact that we retained the wide receiver coach in Aaron Moorhead, if Moorhead can't unlock Arcega-Whiteside's potential, I'm not gonna put that necessarily on the coach, but from a standpoint of the player himself, it's like we have to ask, like, where is his confidence right now, and does he really want to, does he really have that desire to want to be better than what he is, and the scrutiny that he's gone through, and these players hear these things, and I'm sure he's heard, oh, we should have taken you over or we should have taken DK Metcalf over you, and there was other receivers available that were better than you, and stuff like that. So I mean, we talk about him. I don't think a guy like Travis Fulgham is necessarily in the same boat because of the production that he was able to show in a small sample size last year. And he just he looked like a better route runner. His hands were pretty good. The way he's able to develop chemistry with the quarterback, you take all of them factors in, and yeah, you can say Arcega-Whiteside didn't, the chances that he got weren't necessarily equal, but he was on the field in 2019 as a rookie. Let's not forget that. And he struggled as a rookie in 2019 at times. And when you continue to drop passes, that's when your quarterback loses faith in you. I mean, remember, Arcega-Whiteside dropped that potential game-winning touchdown in 2019. It was I think it was week 3 against the Detroit Lions. They came to Philly, and we could have been a touchdown away from, I think, winning that game. and number 11 gave him a good ball, and he was able to catch it around the torso area. He jumped up a little bit for it, falling while he was falling back, and it was decent ball placement. It was between the hands of the DB, and Arcega-Whiteside couldn't catch it. It was right there. You got to catch that ball. And so, I mean, when you talk about that, I would think Fulgham has the edge over him at the moment. So, if we move down the roster chart here, we already brought up guys like Jamon Osmond and Trevon Grimes. We just went over Travis Fulgham and Arcega-Whiteside. Okay. John Hightower. Okay. This is where it can get a little bit tricky here. You got a 4th-round pick from the 2020 draft class. He's coming into year 2. There was moments where some of these rookies last year, there was elements that stunted their growth, and that's a fact. It happened. But the one thing with Hightower is that his route running needs to be a little bit better. There was occasions on the deep ball that he didn't have the best hands. He's got to have better hands to catch the football. And he comes around the same height as some of these ex receivers. Hightower's 6'2", but he weighs about 35 pounds less. He only comes in at around 190. So he's that leaner, he's that leaner type of receiver that you can throw across the formation a little bit. Not too much, but a guy like him, he kind of fell down a little bit, and he was benched at points, and him and Quez Watkins at times were in the same boat. And I hope that these rookies coming into year 2 are going to have at least something to work with the OTAs or training camp or the practices. I hope these guys continue to try and make a name for themselves, and so I'm not sure. Hightower is I don't know. I don't really know what to make of John Hightower. I don't. It's tough because he wasn't. I mean, you can argue over the course of last year that he looked at times like a one-trick pony. So, they only really featured him on deep balls, and you go back to his tape at Boise State. That's not necessarily his game. He was used on slants in that offense. Some crossers and a comeback here and there. Simple stuff. You didn't necessarily see in this Eagles offense. He wasn't utilized very well. So I'm hoping a guy like Sirianni can change that. The collective minds on this new coaching staff should be able to get the best out of some of these players. So, but it's all going to depend on what they think of them. Jalen Reagor is an X factor to me. You're talking a guy in Jalen Reagor that you can, if you have Devontae Smith split outside at the Z, you can have a guy like Reagor on the opposite side of the field. Two guys at that size. I think you can create some. I don't want to say mismatches, but that combined amount of speed, make some packages up like that. But I can also say at the same time that, um, Devontae Smith, I think he's going to end up being the X factor, actually. When you talk about the receiver room, it's like you bring in an alpha like him and what he is, what he's going to do to this receiver room. Um, I think a guy like that's going to want to get the best out of everybody else. Like everybody else is going to want to give you their best. So it's just going to depend on who follows suit here. Especially receivers around Devontae's measurables. Jalen Reagor fits in that category. He's built a bit bigger though. 5'11" at almost 200. I think he comes in at about 190 to 195 range, and then you look at Devontae Smith, who's about 6'1", 170. I don't really, and then we get to a guy like Khalil Tate. I don't necessarily know where he fits in this equation. This is a guy that's swapped, back. He's swapped from quarterback to receiver, and then there's some considerable switching there. So I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I don't know where a guy like Khalil Tate fits into the equation. And then you talk about Quez Watkins. Obviously, I think Quez and Hightower are kind of in the same category here. As far as from a competition standpoint. And then I don't know. See, I left Greg Ward for last because he's a bit separate to everybody else. He's comes in like 5'11", 190. I think he was a undrafted free agent out of Houston. I believe he's coming into his third year in the league as a quarterback turned receiver. He's dependable, don't get me wrong, but he's just not quick. So, and I guess he's primarily fixated to the slot. So, man, I made a crazy debate for myself here. So how do I? Okay, let me do this for a quick minute. I'm going to do this for a quick minute to conclude the stream here. It's going to be a quick one. I only wanted to make these streams. I only wanted to make these streams pretty quick here. So here we go. I'm gonna depth charts right up here, and so you guys can see. I'm gonna make my final picks here. At most, the Eagles are only going to take about. They're only going to take about 5 to 6 receivers. So I'll stick to the maximum here. We're going to have to take 6 out of 10 for the 54-man roster. Obviously. So let me see. We got to take 6. And again, this is early. This is early prediction. We're going to take 6 here. So, let me see. Something tells me Howie Roseman does not want to give up on Arcega-Whiteside, but he just hasn't showed anything. I don't know. Plus he had a couple of nagging injuries, as well as Fulgham did. I think Fulgham was dealing with an ankle at some point. So who's going to make the 54? Devontae Smith is a lock, obviously. Devontae's going to be a lock. Obviously, he's number 1. I think it's safe to say Reagor is going to be your 2. He'll be number 2. I don't know. I have a sneaky feeling that Greg Ward is still going to make it, so I'm going to put him as the third one. Greg Ward offers, he offers a change of pace. So, if nobody else can necessarily get open, you're talking about a quarterback turned wide receiver here, and we seen what he was able to do at times for Jalen Hurts last year. So, but that's when he got open. But at the same time, like I said, Greg Ward offers that kind of change of pace. So I have a sneaky suspicion that he's actually going to make it, and I'll make him the third receiver out of 6. So we got DeVonta Smith, Jalen Reagor, and Greg Ward. 3 out of 6. We have to pick 3 more here. I would have to think, man, I just, and I don't know about a guy in Trevon Grimes. I just don't know yet. I don't know if a guy like Trevon Grimes is going to sneak up the chart. I just don't see it right now. I don't know. I don't see it right now. I mean, if he's, for perspective, I'm going to do this quick. Let's find out. So, okay. So I had to look up Trevon Grimes' 40 time, and he comes in at a 4.49. So he's on par as a 4.4 runner. That's not bad. It's a little bit faster than guys like Travis Fulgham. And I think Fulgham plays a little bit quicker than Arcega-Whiteside does. So I just don't know. What do I want to do? I got three receivers, but I need 3 more. So we already have DeVonta Smith, Jalen Reagor, and I'm going to take Greg Ward. I'll take him. Now the 4th one, who's going to be my 4th one here? Who's my 4th? All right, here we go. Bold prediction. Here we go. We already got 3. So again, DeVonta Smith, Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward. That's 3 of them right there. Let's throw Trevon Grimes in there, because I think he's gonna offer something a little bit different. I think he's gonna offer something a bit different. The only problem with that I have with Trevon Grimes is that you can basically you can kind of basically mock his skill set to a guy like John Hightower, but Grimes is taller. So I'll put Quez Watkins in there only because I feel Quez, he possesses a little bit of short area quickness. He just needs to get a little bit better with his route running. So I'll make Quez the 4th one. I'll make Quez the 4th. Fulgham's going to be number 5. I still have faith in Travis Fulgham, so he'll be number 5. And then, so at that point, it's going to come down to Hightower, Grimes, and Arcega-Whiteside for the 6th spot. Okay, so bold prediction here. I'm going to leave it at this, and I'm probably going to get trashed for it. I think Hightower is going to beat out Grimes. I have a feeling that he's going to. As a fourth round pick in last year's draft class, just I don't know, man. There's something about him, that tells me that he can do so much more. And he was the way he was used in that offense with the way he was used in that offense with Doug Peterson and everything. He was very limited, and I think he offers a little more to the table. So I feel that Hightower is going to be that sixth guy. I have a feeling, and it's still a good group. It's a pretty balanced group. I still think a guy like Hightower still offers some. I think he still offers a little bit more than Trevon Grimes, but on the practice squad, I think Trevon Grimes will be right behind John Hightower. So if something were to happen injury-wise, I think Grimes would be the next guy called up. I think that's definitely a possibility. I don't know where Arcega-Whiteside is mentally. I don't, but we're gonna find out here. So my six receivers that I'm going to take, again, early debate, early depth chart talk. My six receivers that I'm taking: DeVonta Smith, Jalen Reagor. I do think Greg Ward's going to make it. So that's 3. Quez will be 4. Fulgham's going to be 5, and Hightower 6. And then if you want to go further and say number 7 to me is where Trevon Grimes is going to come in. Trevon is going to be on the edge between practice squad to the 54. So, like I said, if case comes where an injury occurs and you need to plug somebody in, Trevon Grimes is going to be up next. So I think when it's all said and done, Trevon's going to be ready to come into the mix. So my 6, again, to close this out, my 6 receivers that I'm going to take at this point in time, again, early prediction: DeVonta Smith, Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, Quez Watkins, Travis Fulgham, John Hightower. Those are my 6 for the moment. Obviously things can change, but I just feel that I just feel that these guys got something to prove, with a new coaching staff. You can say better equipped coaches for the position. Yeah, yes, sir. Angry Eagles fan, otherwise known to me as Big Papa T, hanging in for a minute. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't see. I just don't know where J-Jaw is mentally, and it's very possible that a guy like Travis Fulgham beats him out, and Trevon Grimes is going to be on the edge of that practice squad between the 54 and just being ready to come up if an injury occurs. I think that's where Trevon Grimes is going to be. I can't put a lot of stock in him right now because, again, undrafted free agent like Jamon Osborne. These guys went undrafted for a reason. And I get it. We can hype them up. Don't get me wrong. We can hype them up, but they went undrafted. Let's not forget that. So, again, I'm repeating a lot here, but bear with me. So DeVonta Smith as 1, Jalen Reagor number 2, Greg Ward will be 3, Quez Watkins 4, Travis Fulgham 5, and John Hightower 6. Those are the 6 receivers I am taking at the moment. You know, sorry, Arcega-Whiteside, but I just, I don't know. I just don't see it. And you bring in a guy like Trevon Grimes and, the measurables that he got. So I don't know. I don't know. So, but man, I carried this. I carried the stream a little longer than I wanted to for the first episode here of the early depth chart debate series. I guess episode 2 I can do running backs because that's definitely a good topic of discussion there. But I'll end the stream here. I guess I'll end it here the way it is. So again, point of order. I don't know when I'm going to drop more content. Like I said, the wife's got family coming in, so I'm not sure when I'm going to have any windows to do streams or drop some videos. But more likely than not, I'll probably be able to definitely drop something this coming Sunday. There's going to be a small break in between from Thursday to Saturday, just because. But that's going to do it for the first stream episode of the early depth chart debate. This was on wide receivers. We took my 6 going into 2021. And again, it's an early prediction. Things can definitely change, but as far as I'm concerned, that's where I'm at right now for this receiving core. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments, whether you agree or disagree. Am I underestimating somebody? It's all a part of debate. When I got this titled for the thumbnail, so that's gonna do it for me. This has been Lindy Endzone. I'll catch y'all later. Bleed green. Take care of yourselves, and